The following thoughts on Hoppe Hour do not represent Cox Media Group or its sponsoring. Anything you hear may and will be used against you. Thank you. Voted as best local podcast in Tampa Bay by the Creative Loafing. You're listening to Hoppe Hour.
What up? What is happening? This is Hoppe Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe. Or actually for today, I'm not really the host. Usually it's me as I interview major market radio hosts and I get their take on their career and everything in radio. But me and Mo have been wanting to do this in September, but our schedules are crazy. So today, a cat named Mo, Maurice Jovan, the radio legend, will be interviewing me, the 22-year-old goofball podcaster. Hey, Mo.
Don't mislead the people at the outset of the interview. I haven't been wanting to do this for months. I'm doing it because you asked me to. The desire to do it is nil. But
if you
I
really
like
didn't want to do it, you wouldn't be here right now.
I like you, Hoppe, so I am thrilled to be here. And I have no set questions. I have an idea of things that I want to ask you. The first question would be, why do you think that you are worthy of an interview? And that's not an insult. I am curious because there is a certain level of narcissism involved with anybody that thinks that they are interesting enough to talk about themselves, including myself. Why do you want to be interviewed?
I'm actually not the one that came up with this idea. Kim, who is a big fan of 102.5 The Bone, I took her to the award show when I won Best Local Podcast. She told me...
Can I ask you something? Was dropping the fact that you won Best Local Podcast, is that going to be germane to the question I ask you in any way, shape, or form? I'm just curious. Because if this is the way that this interview is going to go, where you name drop yourself throughout the entire interview,
I went to an award show.
I want no part of it, Hoppe. I want no part of it.
I went to an award show when I won Best Local Podcast. That's all I have. I'm not coordinated. I can't sing. I'm an awful actor. I mean, dude, this is all I have, man. Okay. And I've told SBK that too. And he says you need a backup plan, which is why I'm now interning at a marketing company because I want to learn the business side of the role. But, dude,
I have 50 minutes to give you.
People
You're going to have to stay over.
Realize how badly I want this. People don't realize how badly I'm trying
Hoppe,
to change my reputation.
I'm going to get to that. Answer the question in front of you,
yes.
Which is, why do you want to be interviewed?
Because there's so many different versions of Ryan Hoppe that I think people are almost kind of not creeped out by me, but they're bewildered. Yeah, they're kind of creeped out in the fact that I'm nice off the air. I rant on my segment. I have good interviews. And then I'm just a goofball on air. And I feel like no one really knows the true Ryan Hoppe.
Okay, so this is an interview for clarification, to correct misunderstandings about you.
Yeah, it's like I embrace it. I'm a goofball. When I first came to town, dude, I tried so hard to pretend I'm not goofy. But now I'm at a place where you're not being exploited and made fun of. So I embrace it, and I'm really working on being a better person. Like,
you're not being exploited and made fun of. Have you heard you on the Mike Calta show?
That's not exploitation whatsoever. Did you hear me in Cleveland? I had pubic hair on my face.
I don't even listen to you here. Why the fuck would I listen to you when you were in Cleveland?
I got catfished. I had pubic hair on my face. I had to sniff foot cheese. That's exploitation. Okay. Being made fun of because of my speech impediment, not really exploitation. Okay, I love Mike Kelton.
I love him as well as I, but you're arguing semantics. Now, okay, second question, and we'll continue in this vein. Second question would be, how long have you been here at 102.5 The Bone?
I've been here, believe it or not, 2/3 of a year. I've been here for 8 months.
Can I ask you a third question?
Yeah.
Why the fuck are you yelling? I'm right here. Stop yelling. Okay. You've been 2/3 of a year. Are you where you want to be, thought you would be, or do you feel that you have not maximized the 2/3 of a year that you've been
You
here?
can never maximize enough. You can always keep grinding. But I will say this. I never thought that they would let me use the rooms to record my podcast.
They don't. No one knows you're here.
No, but I mean, there's been so much controversy, and I learned my lesson. I was a little annoyed when I got blamed for using the dove, but what I did was I hid my face. Like, I'm almost happy that Drew called me out on air, like back in October, because it taught me a lesson.
I understand, but you're jumping ahead of the interview, so don't jump ahead. Let's try and keep this
all right,
track.
Walter Cronkite.
Okay. What is the best thing about working on 102.5 The Bone to you?
That you're not like a selective role. Like when I was in Cleveland, we were told we weren't allowed to tweet to anybody on radio. I couldn't do anything on the side, and all you were is just made fun of. But here, you work promotions events, you're allowed to be yourself, and you're almost embraced to be your own person. Like Olivero wants to see you succeed. In Cleveland, they just wanted to see the main guy succeed, and everybody was a minion.
Okay.
And I hated that, but it was a radio job, so I took it.
Okay, you are in promotions. That's the official capacity of what you do here at The Bone.
That's what's on my
correct?
badge.
That's what's on your badge, promotions. Okay, what is your end game? What do you want to be in radio or do
I want to
radio?
be Opie and Jimmy. I want to be Mike Kelta. I want to be Drew Garabo.
Okay, let me stop
Billy
you there.
Madison.
Let me stop
I
you
want to
there.
be you.
Let me stop you there. You could never be me. Your dick's not big enough. But I digress. Why if someone asks you what you want to do or what you ultimately want to be, I think the last thing you want to do is rattle off a series of names. I want you to tell me, what do you, Ryan Hoppe, want to accomplish here at 102.5 The Bone?
I want to be the best that I can be, and I want to show people what I'm all about.
What the fuck does that mean?
I would love to have my own show. That's
You're
my goal.
chasing out the one audience member that we had with these ridiculously vague questions. You want to be everybody wants to be the best thing. That means nothing. That's a filler comment. What do you want to have a paycheck for at 102.5 The Bone?
I would love, it'd be an honor to have a show on 102.5 The Bone. Overnight, give me a slot 3 to 4 a.m. on Sundays, just something so I can get my foot wet in the water. I love Tampa Bay so much. The fans are so legit, and I've never been happier with Happy Hour. Obviously, you can keep improving, but I was listening to my interview with Seth from July. It was so shitty compared to my one last night with the comedian Jared Waters. It's like, I truly believe that within 6 months, I would be radio ready. Not primetime ready, not contract with an agent ready, but it's getting really good, dude. Like, I'm getting compliments, and I have something in the works.
Okay, now are these compliments in your head?
I believe
or
so.
These actual people give you compliments?
It's while I'm dreaming.
I'm kidding. Okay, so you acknowledge that you have a long way to go, but ultimately what you would like is for this podcast to be on terrestrial radio in the form of you having your own show, the Ryan Hoppe Show.
I think it would be Happy Hour, but it wouldn't make sense because it'd be more than an hour. But we would figure that out when we cross that bridge.
Stay on point. It doesn't matter what it's called. Your end game is, my God, you're frustrating. Your end game is you would like a show.
Yes, I would love to be on the radio. I've listened to The Bone since they switched. Man, I'm a savant for radio. In April 2012. So I've been listening since the original lineup. So I would love to do the type of radio they do.
Okay, are you willing to be real and raw?
Yes, I mean, do you hear me?
Stop there. Okay, let's put this to the test. I'm curious. Okay, best thing about the Mike Calta Show?
The best thing about the Mike Calta Show is that he puts in work each and every day, and I respect his hustle, that he worked so hard in the 90s to get his name out there, and he grinded through radio, and he never gave up, and look at him now. He has his own top-rated morning show in the 19th biggest market, a dream scenario. That's what I look up to about him.
Stop. That's enough. Okay, now conversely, in your estimation, because what I'm trying to ascertain here, what I'm trying to garner here is if you can and will be real and raw if given the chance, and do you have an idea of how things work and when things aren't work? So in your estimation, you've just given me what you think is the best thing about the Mike Calta Show. What do you think is one of the worst things or one of the areas where it could be improved in your estimation?
I have no power whatsoever to critique anybody that's on the radio. There are shows in different cities that I despise, that I think are hacky and unoriginal, but guess what? They make money every year. They have a nice house. They have great kids that they love, a nice car, and they get paid good money with a rich agent to do 5 hours of work. You will never, ever hear me critique anybody in radio.
That is not only a good answer, but it's a very smart answer, and you passed test 1.
I will say this. The only type of radio I don't like is when you're out of material, so you have to rip on people to make yourself look better, and you go to bullying and exploitation, and it's not fun.
You don't like that type of radio. Why?
I think it's unoriginal. I think it means you're in the 90s. I think it means you don't know what you're trying to do in radio because you're out of ideas. So you just make fun of everyone around you because you make the most money and you see yourself as like a top dog. And that's what I love most about Mike Calta is that even though he teases you on air, he has helped me so much. Let's be honest. If it wasn't for Drew or Calta, I would not have won Best Podcast with Outdoor Exposure. If it wasn't for him, I would not have looked nice at the award show. He's bought me clothes. His wife has bought me shoes. The people here genuinely care about me and see something in me. When I was in Cleveland, I was nothing more than a piece of shit who they made fun of.
Okay, now let me stop you there. You say the people here genuinely like you and genuinely care about you. Okay, but any listener of The Bone understands that you become somewhat of a polarizing figure, and that on air there have been people that have expressed opinions counter to the one that you just gave of everyone liking you. Why is that?
Not everybody in life is going to like you, and it used to really get to me when I would hear mean things on the radio in different cities or on Twitter or just in radio in general, when you hear people talk smack about you. But that's what comes with the game of being on the radio. I talk smack when I talk about celebrities, so why can't somebody turn on the mic and talk smack about me? It's an even game.
But I'm not talking about talking smack. Every now and again, there seems to be a genuine dislike for who you are, and that doesn't come.
I don't know
me,
what it is. I'm like a goofball.
But understand. But you do hear it, correct?
I don't listen to The Bone.
But you and I have had conversations where you have expressed a confusion about why certain people might have something against you.
Let me explain the last thing I just said. I listen to 102.5 The Bone, but it's weird because I work here. It feels like I'm listening to coworkers, and the fanboyness of me listening to radio is done. Like now I just listen to music when I'm at the gym. I used to listen to a lot of shows via podcast. Right. I don't listen to any radio anymore because I don't want to copy any ideas. So I'll listen to The Bone when I'm driving around, but I'm not like a P1 listener like I used to be. I love The Bone, but it's like...
Okay. I have no idea what that means. So I'm going to ask you the question again. Why do you feel that your persona went from almost universally liked, if not universally accepted, to where you have had run-ins with different on-air personalities that seem to be more real than radio?
Here's what I think I came to realize. That with my social anxiety, with being bipolar, which I'm open about, ADD and ADHD, sometimes I'm not the best at reading social situations. So like the debacle that went down back in October when I was using the rooms during the day, that was completely moronic.
Okay, got that.
Or
move on.
Sometimes I try really hard to be funny, and it doesn't come off well. Like, I'm not a funny guy. I'm funny when I talk, but I could never be a comedian or I could never be a sketch writer. So it's like, I feel like whenever I try to be something that I'm not, it ends up getting me in trouble. So now I'm just kind of backing off and doing my thing.
So in other words, you have dropped lines to certain people that they found offensive, and that is the source of some.
This goes back to fourth grade. I called my teacher a bitch vagina when I got mad at her.
Okay.
I'm just saying, I've always been really outspoken, but it's because I try so hard.
That's not outspoken. That's being a douchebag. You know what outspoken means, right? Okay.
I'm just saying, I feel like I overcompensate too much.
You're not. I'm trying to, because a lot of listeners will will say very nasty things about you on Twitter.
I love that.
Hold on. When you make appearances and so forth. In other words, do you feel like you're completely responsible for the persona that you put out, or do you think it can be manipulated depending upon who the host of the show you're on is and what they're saying about you? Are you responsible for people's perception of you, or do you feel like that can be put into somebody else's hands?
I think the problem is it's not exactly always my fault, but people don't get that radio is entertainment, and people don't get that at the end of the day, it's just people talking into a microphone. And people microscope radio so much, and people dissect it so much that they take it seriously, and they think I'm miserable because I'm teased on air. It's like, no, I live in Florida. I live around sunshine. I am so happy to be at the Bone.
But okay, but the teasing does get to you sometimes, doesn't it?
It does get to me.
Why?
Because I've been made fun of since kindergarten, so it's like deja vu to high school again. But then
if you're saying that it's just radio, that you understand it's just radio,
so then I go to the
why
gym.
Does it affect you?
I go to the gym, I lift, and I move on from it, and I try to be a better person the next day.
But again, you're not understanding the question. Don't get frustrated. I see you over there getting frustrated, but that's because I'm trying to keep your ADD ass on a single track. If you understand that it's only radio, why does it get to you? That's what I'm trying to find out. That's what the purposes of this interview should be. Not your persona, not your platitudes, but the real you. In other words, what makes it hurt when you get made fun of sometimes on the radio?
It's not that it's easy radio. It's just I'm an adult. Like, I get that it comes with being a whipping boy, and I get it comes with being a 22-year-old goofball who sometimes is a little over pushy and sometimes is way too passionate about radio. But it's like, this is all I have. Like, I'm at an internship trying to learn about business, so I have a side plan. But it's like, sometimes I feel like I'm taken advantage of, and it really hurts my feelings. And it's just like,
because you're not like that, because those are things that you wouldn't do.
What I love the most is when somebody, and I'm not bragging, but somebody wants a picture with me when I'm at the Amalie Arena for a promotions event, or they'll see me at a bar and they'll recognize my tall, goofy ass, and they'll be like, you're completely different than you are on the air. Like, even my friends were saying that, and it goes, that's kind of a positive thing because I'm not walking around ranting like I do on Happy Hour, but it's kind of a negative thing because then anybody who tunes on the Bone just thinks that I'm a complete piece of shit.
Okay, now that goes back to the question I asked you earlier. Do you think that there are people that think you are a complete piece of shit?
Yes.
Let me finish. Because of the things you do, or because of the perception host put out there about you? In other words, who's responsible for listeners thinking that you're a piece of shit?
I think it's the way I take the on-air material that's given towards me.
I'm going to come across this board and fucking slap you if you don't give me a straight answer. Who do you think is responsible for your persona on air? Ultimately, it's you.
Yes.
It has nothing to do with the way people utilize you or use you or make fun of you, and then your responses afterwards.
I do get sick of being made fun of, but I need to learn to be tough-skinned and to find witty and original ways to come back. Because the reason that I don't often defend myself on air is because it's just going to be me being mean and ranting, because I'm a genuine guy. I rant on air. But that's why I did this interview. I feel like people don't know who the real me is. I don't like being made fun of, and I don't like confrontation. So when I'm made fun of on air...
Okay, why do you allow yourself to be made fun of then?
Because I don't know what to say back, because then it's just going to be mean.
Okay, but why not just remove yourself from the situation completely? In other words, why enter a room that you know might have hostility, perceived fake or real?
Because I want to make it in radio so badly that I will do whatever I have to. That was shown last year in Cleveland, and that's when I was treated badly. But here, I want to make it so badly in Tampa. I love being around the sun that I will do whatever it takes, dude.
Okay, see, right there, that tells people something about you. And that's what I've been trying to get at. That's a very interesting answer, and that's certainly an answer that I understand, and it's certainly a situation that I've lived in, and I think probably anybody in this building, regardless of where they are status-wise, has probably had to do too. You want something so bad that you will sacrifice your own self-respect and your own beliefs to attain it. Not completely, but you'll certainly allow yourself to be put in situations that you understand don't necessarily make you look good, or that you don't even believe in yourself, correct?
Sometimes I just don't know what to do, dude. I'm such an awkward guy. Like, it's a once-in-a-lifetime thing that a kid goes from working in the 31st biggest city to the 19th biggest city after going to a radio trade school. Like, this does not happen to anybody ever. Like, I should be in college right now, but I had awful grades. So it's just...
You really should.
I don't know, man. I just want this so badly that I want to make it work. That's why I do Happy Hour on the side, and I never, ever let it get to me. I get mad, and when I'm made fun of in the morning, sometimes I'll call you because I feel like you're the person I can console with because you listen to me, and you're the only person that would talk to me on the phone. But it's also like...
That's going to change, by the way.
Yeah, you're gonna
after this interview.
You have the iPhone feature, so you can block my call. It's
apparently mine doesn't work because I've been trying.
I'm getting really hungry, dude. I am getting so not desperate, but I can just see the potential in radio. Like, I want it more than anything.
Okay, now let me ask you this then. This brings up another question. Do you think because of that desire, because of that passion, that sometimes you're a bull in a china shop, and that might be the cause of friction?
Then I'll have to deal with it. I have nothing else. I don't have a backup plan. I'm trying to find a backup plan. That's why I'm interning at a business company. But I don't know what my second plan is, dude. I've wanted to do this since kindergarten when I heard talk radio. I have wanted to do this since I grew up listening to Radio Disney and then radio shows in Chicago, dude. I have wanted to do this for so long that I am so focused and so in the zone on making it that I don't give a fuck what anybody thinks of me. When I first got here, I was a little bitch who tried too hard. Todd T. Riley said it best to me last month when he was training me how to run the board. He said to me, "You were a joke in this building." He goes, "Everybody made fun of you." He goes, "There was a sign that said hazard warning after the boil that hung on a door." He goes, "Everyone laughed at you." But he goes, "Slowly and surely you fixed that." He said, "Your biggest problem was you didn't respect yourself, so you didn't respect anything around you." And even though that's easy advice, like it's not like rocket science, that really hit my heart, where it was like, I wasn't taking showers because I was depressed about my cat dying. So then I came to work smelling. Then I had a boil on my arm. Or then I would be awkward and trying too hard and saying turned up and bang out girls on the air. And now I'm trying to be genuine. So I'm respecting myself. I'm now working out and trying to get into shape. I'm now cleaning up my apartment. I'm going to be doing Uber. What I'm getting at is...
Can I just stop and point out that it's an odd correlation of wanting something so badly and therefore not having to clean up your apartment?
That means you're lazy and depressed. That means you don't respect yourself. Because if you don't respect yourself, you're not going to respect the apartment around you, the car around you, the job around you, the grocery shop around you. If you don't respect yourself, you are going to be a piece of shit.
Okay, all right, understandable. But going back to something you said a little prior to that last comment about how you want this so badly. Now, you've heard the 38 Special song, Hold On Loosely, right?
No, I'm not 80.
Being condescending to the host is not going to make this interview go any better. Hold on loosely, but don't let go. If you cling too tightly, you're going to lose control. Do you understand the wisdom in that?
That's what I did.
Because I said sometimes perhaps you have come through like a bull in a china shop and you said, I don't have a backup plan and I don't know any better. But even though you don't have a backup plan does not mean that you can't finesse your way into something as opposed to charging head first with your head down.
I think the biggest reason why I was so intense when I first came here was I wanted people desperately to know who I am. and now they do. But it's a positive and it's a negative because no one knows what to think of me. And I think the worst decision I could possibly make that I did from about May till September, or maybe even October, was I would hang around the office after the Mike Calta show when I would sit in on football punches, or after I got tased by the dominatrix, or if I were to help call contest winners for Mike Olivero, I would just hang around the office and bother people. And I think that's what really annoyed people was they're like, this kid's not being paid by Cox Media to do happy hour. Yeah, he's allowed to use the room, but get the fuck out of here. We're trying to do shit, dude. And that's what really taught me a lesson, was how much I was aggravating people. And the thing is, it's not an excuse, but I have a shit load of pressure from my mom to make it, because I'm not making buku bucks, dude. I am not making a lot of money. I've had 4 separate jobs here since being in town, and now I'm going to do Uber, and I desperately need to make it, dude, because I've wanted to do this for so long, and I feel bad that at times my mom has to help me when it comes to my income. Well, so that's why I'm so focused on making it work, dude.
Do you have a plan? Do you have
believe
a structure?
I do.
Do you have a structure? You either have a plan or you don't. You can't believe that you have a plan. You either know that you have a plan or you don't have a plan.
I'm young, so I think I have a plan. I have an image in my mind of what I want to do, because they say when you're in your 20s, you think you know everything, but you don't. But I will say this. I named off the people I like in the beginning of who I want to be. I'm not going to say that again because you said to be yourself, but I will say this.
Say what you want to be. If someone asks you what you want to be, you say you want to be. I want to be Ryan Hoppe on the air and give my take. I believe, and this is not. I will tell you what I used to say. Or when I was asked, because that's what people ask you, when I was first trying to get a position on this station on the Bone, and it was during a contest, and a lot of people would answer the question, well, I want to take it to the next level. And rightfully so, Mike Calta and Drew Garabo, who were both sitting on the panel, would be insulted by it because, A, what you're implying is that they have an inability to be better than what they are or to be the best. And second, it's the next level. What do you, if you're just starting, how are you going to jump levels over where they have already been? My answer to the question was, why do you want to be on 102.5 The Bone? And I said, because I have done many things, so I will never run out of anything to talk about or an interesting way to talk about it. And that's what I feel that I can do, or that I bring to the Cat Named Mo Show. The Cat Named Mo Show works, in my estimation, and again, that's a subjective thing. It works in my estimation because of my cumulative life experiences and the things that I've done, and a passion to talk about and share those things. And it's unique because it's my perspective. And that's what I wanted to bring to listeners. I wanted to bring a different perspective than what was already here on the Bone. So I ask you again, what would make the Ryan Hoppe Show a show worthy of being on 102.5 The Bone?
I would give it my all each and every day, just like I do at Happy Hour. And the thing is, I want to give a... I'm to stop getting upset, but you are not answering the question. I just asked you what would make the Ryan Hoppe Show worthy of being on the Bone, and you tell me that you would give it your all. Well, give what your all? I need the answer to what? What is the Ryan Hoppe Show? What is it that you want to give your all to? Giving my take on the news, because in 2016, not the people on the Bone because they speak their mind, but everywhere else in this country, we're a bunch of uptight wussies that don't want to say the truth, that just let the media run this country with the false scenarios. Like this week, I ranted about the fact that Fox News, CNN, and MSNBC, the front page news was about Marco Rubio's fucking boots that he was wearing. And I said that's out of the movie Idiocracy. So my point of Happy Hour is to interview people who are in radio and to get their take on their career. My point of Happy Hour is to interview comedians and to find out about their life and to hopefully make the listeners laugh. But my ultimate goal when it comes to my rants is to broaden people's horizons. I begin the show by saying, I hope I expand your mind, because we are so uptight. Every single day, we are offended by words, and it is getting so out of hand that it is sad. Sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will kill me now. Dude, we are so uptight.
What makes you think that you are the one to expand people's minds, or that you have
because
the ability
nobody my age wants to do it.
minds?
Everybody my age just kind of goes along with what TMZ or Perez Hilton or the major news networks say, but I grew up listening to people that are your age, like Opie and Anthony, Howard, Jonathan Brandmeier. And what I'm getting at is those guys
I'm younger than those guys, by the way.
No, you're not. What I'm getting at is I'm outspoken in the fact where I'm influenced by them. So to kids my age, they've never heard radio like that, so they think it's a new thing. So what I want to do is I want to freshen up talk radio for people my age, and I want to expand their mind and just speak the truth, because nobody my age wants to. Everybody is fascinated by these Kardashians, and they are talentless imbeciles famous from a sex tape. Everybody is fascinated with Trump, and he's going to ruin this country. Everybody gets offended by a fucking coffee cup, and it's just like, we need to figure out what we are doing as a country.
So you think that you're seeing things better than your peers?
In a way, not people that work in radio. Like, people in the promotions team get it because they work in radio. But when I went home to Illinois and I would visit the bars when I went home for Christmas, they're like, you kind of talk a lot. I'm like, yeah, that's radio. And they go, why don't you play music? I'm like, because it's talk radio. But they go, but you're supposed to play music. Like, kids at home didn't get that the point of my show is to rant and to speak the truth in my mind. And I'm going to keep doing that until the day I die, because that's what I want to do.
And why do you think that you have an insight that your people of your generation or kids of your generation don't?
Because they think news is The Daily Show. I watch The Daily Show every day because it makes me laugh, but they think that is news. They think TMZ is news, and they just don't know that our country is going down a very bad path. I'm not even saying because of politics, but we're just becoming so uptight. The book by Adam Carolla, We Will Be Chicks in 50 Years, it should be We Will Be Chicks in 50 Months. That book was written like probably 5 years ago. It's getting really bad how soft and how bad things are getting.
Okay,
dude.
but my question again is, why are you not susceptible to this train of thought? What has given you an insight to be able to, as you said, quote unquote, expand people's minds?
Because I'm not up to date in the news like Drew or Mike Calta. Like, those guys are very intelligent when it comes to being up to date with the news. And guys like Roger and JP too. Like, they can just sit there and talk about the news for an hour and make it unique. My problem is right now I can only rant about it. But I want to learn more about the world. I don't want to be just a sports fan. You know what I mean? And the thing is, kids my age do not know anything about the news. Most of them think they do, but they get it based off the media. I truly believe I can read through bullshit, dude.
Again, what has given you that insight? Answer the question. Was
listening
it your
to talk radio for 15 years?
And you were able, and you feel that through osmosis, you were able to become wise beyond your years because of what you grew up being exposed to.
In 6th grade, I was making YouTube videos. I wanted to go by the name Rhino and have a show called Rhino's Morning Frequency. So I did Rhino rants, where I would rant about the news. In 2006, when everybody else was playing Pokemon, I was doing creative things, and I was making Photoshops of what my show would look like. And it was called Hoppe Will Make Your Cereal Entertaining.
Okay.
So what I am getting at is I've always wanted to do radio, so I'm kind of ahead of the pack in a way.
All right. Do you have temperament issues?
I do. I have anger issues, which is why I think sometimes that holds me back on the radio.
That'll hold you back in life. You understand that as well, correct?
Yes, I have road rage. I have anger. There's so many different sides of me.
I'm actually pointing out the fact that I will ask you questions, and then you'll go off on a tangent, and I will try and pull you back, and you're throwing your head back in frustration. Why are you getting frustrated with me?
It's almost because I care too much about what people think that I'm trying to express to people who I am. And I'm not trying to go on a tangent, but
that's what you do. And I
Yeah.
try and pull you back. I'm actually trying to get you to be more succinct in your answers so that people don't get bored with your explanation and then trail off, and then they never know who the real Ryan Hoppe is.
very good point.
Okay, so stop getting fucking frustrated at me.
Yeah.
All right.
Because
Okay.
people can't see this because it's radio, but I'm like shifting my head back and forth.
Yes,
I just stomped my feet.
And it's annoying me because I could be at Hooters right now.
Yeah.
I'm doing this for you, so stop fucking doing that.
Yeah.
All right. Now that's out of the way. You get fired tomorrow. What are you doing? What's Ryan Hoppe doing?
Probably going back home,
Back home is where?
Illinois. And
Okay, let me ask you something. Does that make you a quitter? Because obviously you built a little bit of cachet here. As you like to frequently point out, you are the number one listened to podcast in the Tampa Bay area.
Dude, how would I make
You won
money?
awards. In other words, there are other radio stations and companies here that you could parlay your, as you like to say, fame into. So why would you? I'm being somewhat facetious, but why would you? Why wouldn't you go across the street? Why wouldn't you say, hey, I've done a year over at The Bone and let people know me. I have this award for this podcast. Why don't you give me a chance? In other words, why pack up and run? Are you a quitter?
I don't know. It's just, it would really depend on the money. Like, money is really tight, and that's why I'm making it work. And honestly, I would probably be heartbroken if I was let go from The Bone, just because this is a dream scenario with the format that I like. But actually, maybe if I did get fired, let's just say, I probably would try to look for things maybe in Orlando or down the block
Okay,
in Tampa.
and that's right, because
Fort Myers.
anyone that knows radio knows that it's the rare talent that ends up at the same radio station that they began. Your career, there's a saying amongst bikers. There are two kind of bikers: those that have laid their bike down,
Yeah.
and those that are going to. There are two kind of radio personalities: those that have been fired numerous times and those that have just gotten into the business, which is to say that those numerous firings are going to occur. So it would be odd to me if you have such a passion for radio that if you were to get fired from here, you would just ducktail and run.
I spoke fast. I would not give up. I just think it would be a very bad place if I were to get fired. I think I would probably go through a panic attack.
Do you think you can be happy if radio were to never materialize for you?
I don't think that way. You can't.
Really?
You can't.
So you're saying your happiness as an individual on this planet is contingent upon you being in radio?
I went on a date about 8 days ago, and she said, "What do you like to do in your free time?" And I said, "Radio and work out." And she goes, "No, but besides that, what do you do in your free time?" And I was like, "I do a podcast and I work out." And she was like, "Really?" She almost seemed bored with me because she played volleyball. She volunteered. Like, I'm so focused on making it work that this is all I do. Like, when I'm driving to my internship, I'm thinking about my show. When I'm going to bed, I'm writing down notes. When I was in Illinois, I was just jotting down ideas, and I'm thinking about who to book next. Like, I put so much work into this. I find happy hour fun. Last night, I answered phones for the BDRS. That was fun. I love being around radio. It is a joy.
Is that show the same without me?
Who knows?
Good answer.
I heard your arm was hurting. Wah.
Good answer.
Your arm was hurting.
My arm
Oh, you
was
can't
not
do
hurting. I
radio.
had inflammation in my shoulder for some odd reason. Okay, now, but back to the subject. Okay, but again, I referenced 38 Special somewhat jokingly, but I'll say it again. Hold on loosely. Do you think that by doing nothing but radio, by having no outside interests, no outside hobbies, that how do you grow as a person? Because have you ever heard the saying, if you grow up on the river is all you know? That's not going to make for a very multi-dimensional show if all you know is radio. That's a problem with filmmakers today, these young filmmakers. We have filmmakers that did nothing but grow up watching film.
Yeah.
So they're giving us facsimiles of facsimiles, and subsequently, no emotion is real on the screen. So, in other words, if all you are is radio, how are you going to relate to a broad audience who relates to many other things.
Here's what I will say. I have gone out with some of my friends, and I also talked about my first date ever that I went on 8 days ago, and I talked about it on air. I'm trying really hard to go out to the bars and people watch and make it a fun night so I can break it down on air, because I had Brother Weeze, who's a radio legend who found guys like BJ Shea and Opie, and he told me he's been kidnapped by the mafia, he's gone broke twice, and he's made it in life. And the best radio is when he talks about himself and he talks about his life on air. And that was
absolutely. So you therefore have to do things.
Yeah, and I'm very open. I mean, if I get a girlfriend, whenever I do, I will tell her, I'm not going to break down her sex life, but if something goofy happens, I will talk about it. I'm not going to exploit you and say, oh, you went south of the border on me last night, or we had sex, but I'm going to say, oh, yeah, this goofy thing happened at the mall. Like, because it brings real radio, because then they see a different side of Hoppe. Like, people told me my best show ever was when Kyle, my executive producer, who will be back soon, when he was talking about us going to the bars and me making out with a chick and her being 5'4" and I'm 6'8", and that we were grinding, and it was the goofiest thing ever. And people said it was like they saw a different side of me besides me ranting about the news. So I actually try to go out to the bars more and be observant and watch documentaries on Netflix, because that's the reason for this podcast. I don't just want to be Badass Ryan on Kelta Show, or me answering phones on BDRS, or the promotions kid, or Happy Hour. I am looking hard and I am focused on being Ryan Hoppe when I'm not around here. Okay. So I'm trying to do more in my social life.
All right, do more than just go to bars, though, too, because bar life is not necessarily reflective of real life. But get out there, get some hobbies.
You know what I mean.
I understand what you're saying. Okay.
It's just I don't have a lot of time in a day because I do this. I'm here from 6 p.m.-ish till 11 p.m., because I do my show and then I edit it, and I'll either have a comedian on and do a rant, or just do a rant, and then I go to the gym and I go to bed, and then I either work at the Bone or I do my internship during the day, or I'll play Madden. Like,
let me stop you there. Have you been disappointed by an interview, a subject, someone talking about themselves, and you went in thinking, having a different opinion of them, thinking it was going to be great, and the more that you listened to them, you felt like, has that happened? You don't have to name names. I'm just curious if that's happened.
No, I was disappointed with the fact that it had to be an embarrassing way for me to figure out what radio is when I left Cleveland. It really broke my heart. And I was debating if I wanted to talk about this on Happy Hour during this interview, but I'll just say
talk about it.
It really hit my heart when I got fired by Rover's Morning Glory, because it just felt weird to have been a fan of him since 2006 and to be a supporter and to have gone to 2 of his Rover Fests and to support the show on Twitter and to listen to it since 6th grade. And then they treat you like shit. Before I'm even hired, they catfish you. There's a naked picture of me if you search me online.
I won't.
I know. They also put pubic hair on my face. They made me sniff foot cheese.
Thanks for the heads up, though.
They made me sniff foot cheese. We had to drink beer that was mixed with paint.
Okay, but now
what I'm
you say
they
made, but you have some onus in that. You allowed yourself to do
I don't know
things.
what to do. I was 21 years old. I'm not saying by being 22 I'm more mature now, but it was weird because you're going, this is who was one of my influences. I have like 12 influences because I like a lot of shows, but it's heartbreaking when you're becoming the joke of the show and you're an embarrassment to Cleveland, your mom's hometown, and her friends were listening to you be exploited. They made me talk about my meds on air, and they would read the worst symptoms. So I take Klonopin. They're like, that's for people who go to a mental hospital. It's like, no, it fixes my speech impediment, and it helps me sleep at night. That, to me, was when I said, where is my life going? When they're making me read off what meds I take on air, and they called 20 different psychiatrists trying to get them on air to talk about my meds. Well, listen, that is what broke my heart. I will
can
never,
see it. I can hear it in your voice, and I can see it in your face.
Critique an interview because they're taking the time to call my show when they could be doing anything else. Every interview I've had Some were boring, but at least they called my show. But to be exploited and bullied and treated like shit by a show that you were a fan of, that is when I said to myself, I am never going to be a bully in radio. And that's why I think I tried so hard to have people like me when I first came to town, is because I wanted to show people who I really am. But I was doing it in an obnoxious way, and everyone was sick of me. So that's why I hide my face once I'm done on Kelta's show, or once I'm done at a promotions event. I don't hang around and say hi to people from 97X or the Dove. I go home and I do my job.
Because out of fear that you're going to be ridiculed,
I don't want to annoy people. I don't want them to see my face too much.
But you understand. You understand. You're almost like an abuse victim. You understand that you weren't treated how you were treated on Rover's Morning Glory, and I only have to go by what you have said because you were annoying people. It's just because that person chose to use you in that way.
I had to go to therapy. I'm in therapy right now.
Therapy because of your treatment on Rover's Morning Glory.
I had to go to therapy because I would have panic attacks. There was this girl that I really liked in town there.
Based upon your experiences on Rover's Morning Glory.
I had to go to therapy.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Okay.
They made fun of me on air because I didn't know she was 19 years old, but we went to a bar.
Right.
And he made fun of me on air because I was into a 19-year-old girl, even though she's just 2 years younger. So he called her on air, and they made fun of me. And I was in puppy love, where I thought she was into me.
Right.
The last weekend, I was in town before I moved. She had sex with my friend's cousin, so obviously she was never into me. She was into me because I was on the biggest show in Cleveland. But I think there were 6 times after leaving that show that I would be crying in the car and calling my mom, saying, will I make it in radio? I'm nothing but a joke. This is like high school again. That's what I like about The Bone, is I have never left here crying. I leave here mad and confused, but I have never wept. There was one day that I slept from 11 a.m. when I got home until 5 a.m. when I had to get up the next day for Rover's show. I was so depressed by them putting pubic hair on my face and making fun of my acne and my speech that I didn't want to get up.
Let me ask you something, and I want to see where you've grown, or if you have.
So that's
let
me just say this.
Go ahead.
So that's why people make fun of me saying the word honored.
Mm-hmm.
People make fun of me for being very excited. But it truly hits my heart that Mike Olivero gave me this chance. It truly hits my heart that Rob got me the job here, and he referred me, and I was here within 4 weeks. And it truly means the world to me. Everything Mike Kelta has done for me, and Drew Garabo giving me the exposure in primetime, playing my interview, and he's a great guy off air. Everybody, Roger and JP were great at the bar crawl. Everyone here is genuine. That's what I like, is nobody here is a bully. They make fun of you. Yes, they get mad at me, but I never, ever leave feeling like a piece of shit.
Say and it comes from whoever, that they started putting you in that kind of position on their show. Would you completely extricate yourself from it, or would you allow it again? Have you learned? Have you grown? Can you ever see yourself being made to look the fool again on someone's show? I can
kind of read when it's going to happen, and I don't get that vibe here because it was different. If it were to happen, I would then back off and hide my face, but they are nowhere close to how I was treated in Cleveland.
I understand that, but today on this station, a show wants to put pubic hair on your face.
No way. No way.
So, based upon your experiences with Rover's Morning Glory and the fact that you had to go into therapy afterwards, you have a set of parameters that you would not allow someone to cross.
Yes.
Correct?
I had to take a new med because she said I was a wreck after I got fired in March. She said she could see the passion taken out of me. And the worst part was, you had people tweeting at me. And I know you can't take Twitter seriously. I had 400 tweets that day from everybody saying you're a loser. You will never make it in radio again. You're a piece of shit. You're the R word. And that's what motivated me. I got a gym job. I lost the weight that I did from drinking in the winter. And I got down here. And that's what motivates me, is the fact that Mike Olivero mentors me. Right. And that Rob gives me advice, and that you let me talk on the phone. It means a lot that I have someone to turn to, because in Cleveland, I thought I had people to turn to, and I would talk to them about being made fun of, or I would talk to them about what I needed to do for the show, and none of it was private. The next day they said, oh, Hoppe called me at 2 p.m. and he annoyed me. It's like, what are you talking about, dude? You talked to me for 40 minutes. It's because they want to bring material, and the material there is being a bully.
Right. Let me ask you this. Out of curiosity, had you not been fired from Rover's Morning Glory, would you still allow that? Would you still be there?
Probably.
So, to a degree, your hostility towards them stems from a feeling of betrayal that you let them do all of this to you and then they fired you.
And it's anger at myself for not seeing through it and just thinking things were going to get better.
But now that it's a contradiction, because you're saying that you would never allow it to happen again, but you're saying, hey, had they not fired me, I'd still be there allowing them to do the stuff. Was there only a moment of clarity after you were no longer there? Do you not think that you would have had – obviously you did have moments of extreme awareness because you were at home crying. So in other words, why would you not have stopped it at some point if you were completely aware of what it was doing?
Because it's so hard to get a job in radio and you're on – I know that. I know it sounds silly, but I just kept thinking things would get better. But when they began talking about my meds on air, Kelta talks about me having bipolar and ADD and ADHD, and he thinks I have autism, but I don't. That's different. When they break down my meds,
right,
and they read off the worst symptoms, that is when I say, oh my God, dude. That's the easiest radio. Like, I could find out that you take Xanax, look up the negative effects, you want to kill somebody. It causes a murdering effect. Like, that was when I said, what is going on with my life? And when I got fired from the show, I said to myself, I'm never going to work in radio again. But I have a lot of people that I've met at radio conferences that gave me advice, and they said, it's for the better. They said, you were treated so badly, you would never make it in radio if you worked there for more than a year, because there'd be so much online, no one would take you seriously. I applied for 70 jobs on All Access, probably. I applied for every major radio company, Cox, CBS, iHeart, Entercom, all that. Cumulus, I applied for any job I saw. And the fact that Rob even went to Mike's office and referred me, and the fact that Mike even gave me a chance, every single day I scan my badge and I walk in. Every single day I'm allowed to do Hoppe Hour, or last night when I was doing a BDRS, I really take into account how happy I am and how surreal it is. Because when I first came to town, I didn't take it serious. I was in the mode of, I wasn't really sure about myself. I was having a hard time finding an apartment, and Cleveland kept making fun of me. But now that I've sort of proved myself that I can be something, and I've interviewed 40 people since July, I've never been more confident. And Mo, I am so focused on making this work that I don't show my face at work. I don't want to annoy people. And I think it's starting to work out for the better, because I really think I was on the edge of not making this work. I was really beginning to annoy people.
Let me just offer you up this little advice, and it's just me, but I found this true. If you want to make something work, and if you want it badly enough, you have to be willing to let it go.
I don't think about them at all. I'm just expressing what I don't want to be in radio.
No. You have to be willing, not letting your anger towards a Rover's Morning Glory. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying you have to be willing to in order to embrace and love and make it in the radio, I think you have to be willing to let it go as well.
What does that mean?
That means that you will strangle the opportunity if you can't walk away from it. And sometimes to get something, you have to walk away from it and allow it to come to you, or get a fresh perspective and then go back to it. You understand what I'm saying in that regard? In other words, when I asked you earlier, can you be happy in your life if radio doesn't happen for you? And you said no. That's an unhealthy response.
I'm also young, so we will see how it plays out.
Okay, all right. No, okay, let's
I have been very focused, though, at my internship on the side on learning how to edit websites and learning how to do Google Analytics and things like that, because I talked to SBK a lot, but there was a conversation we had about 3 months ago, and he goes, so how do you think you've been doing around here, man? He goes, Hoppe Hour is doing good. I'm like, yeah. I said, this is what I've wanted to do. I have no backup plan. and he has this face, and he goes, dude. He
said,
goes,
yeah, absolutely. He
knows
because he knows.
He said to me, dude, I've seen people who kill it in a market and then they can't do it anywhere else. He goes, dude, you need a backup plan. And he goes, you're young, you'll figure it out. But he goes, bro, you need a backup plan. He goes, you're young, you don't need to worry about it. But he goes, radio isn't everything. And that's when I'm like,
it really isn't.
That's when I was like, I need to figure out ways to expand my horizon, which is why I'm interning at that Toco Works company. Shout out to Law Smith for the opportunity, because I'm learning a lot about business, and he's mentoring me, showing me how to do conference calls and that, because I want to be more than just radio, because I like what guys like Adam Carolla do, where they're business people. I like what Mike Kelta does, where they know more than just radio.
Absolutely. Okay, couple of things, couple of questions, then we'll wrap this up because I'm hungry. What's the biggest misconception about Ryan Hoppe?
That what is portrayed about me either in Cleveland or when I'm slightly made fun of here, which I have no problem with, that's me. That Happy Hour is incompetent, that it sucks, and that I'm just this tall goofball that goes around letting people push me around.
I seriously just asked for one thing. Okay, second question. What are you most proud of as far as the Happy Hour is concerned?
It's not even winning the award. Winning the award was cool because I was only here for 4 months.
Nice how you name drop that one more time.
But I will say this. The fact
Did
that...
I ask you about an award? No, go ahead. So what are you most proud of?
That I'm really focusing on my interviews and figuring out what to say next. I used to read off a script of like 20 different things, and you could hear it with my original interview with you or Seth or Miguel Fuller or TM Powell. It was just me going, so what's the hot summer movie? TM has a great answer. I have no follow-up. What do you see coming up in the spring next year? So but now I'm really working on having a conversation. Last night I talked to comedian Jared Waters for 80 minutes, and it flowed, and people like it. I'm really focusing on making them feel at home, because I love what Opie does with his show, where it's just a bunch of people, and I love what Kelta does too. In your show, and any show on the Bone, really.
Yeah, thanks for saying something nice about my show. Go ahead.
Whatever, dude. It's one of those things where I like...
See what you're doing? That's a learned response. You see what you're doing? It's a trigger. Stop it.
I like FM talk radio and how it's laid back, and I'm really just trying to make it a conversation.
And you think that, so in other words, your interviewing skills have become more organic.
I listen to what Larry King does, listen to what Charlie Rose does, but he's boring. But when you listen to guys like Opie or Kelta, Drew, Howard, you hear how they know what they're going to say next, but they're so quick at thinking. Like, they're just so fast and they're so quick-witted. It's like, I want to be 1/10 of that.
Okay. And do you give yourself a timetable?
I want to have my own show, hopefully in a year. But I want to have a show where it's my main job in like 5 years, because I'll be 27 then.
Like you, I've given myself a timetable, and it is up. I'm out of this motherfucker. You did great. Beautiful.
Well, Mo, I appreciate you doing this. You've been a guy that defends me online, even though I don't think you really need to, because they're a bunch of pussies who wouldn't say it to our face at a public event because they're keyboard killers. But I appreciate the support you've given me. You were one of the original interviews. I think you're the second one on Happy Hour.
Correct.
You've been gracious to me. I've co-hosted your show. I've answered phones for you. And I've always appreciated you letting me vent.
One more question, final question. If it meant getting a show, would you suck Miguel Fuller's dick? People want to know. The people want Mo out.
Oh, my God, dude. You're putting me in a weird position.
No, Miguel will be. I'm getting the fuck out.
This has been Happy Hour. I am your host, Ryan Hoppe, saying bye.
Happy Hour. Happy Hour.